The only positive thing I can say, we're just one game away from the Four Nations break, but this team is pushing my patience. We have a lot to break down in today's episode of Locked On Devils. Buckle up, everybody.
You're Locked On Devils, your daily podcast on the New Jersey Devils, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hi, this is Bryce Salvador, and you're Locked On Devils with Trey Matthews.
Elliott scores! Oh, Steven stepped up, nailed it. Brodor's got the puck. What a shot. The Devils win the Stanley Cup.
Alrighty now, what is up, New Jersey? Welcome back to the Locked On Devils podcast here at the Locked On Network. I'm your host, College Hockey Club play announcer, Devils Wire Pucks Pitchforks, and also part-time credential media member, Trey Matthews. I'm honestly lost for words. I don't know if there's anything that I can say that hasn't been said already. The New Jersey Devils dropped their latest matchup to the Vegas Golden Knights by a score of 3-1. It's wash, rinse, repeat with this team. The only positive thing I can say is that we are one game away from the Four Nations break. And if there's any team that needs a complete reset, both physically and mentally, it's this Devils team. They desperately need this 2-week hiatus. In the first segment, I will share my main takeaways from the game. Then in the second segment, we are going to hear from Sheldon Keefe and also Stefan Noesen. Noesen actually said something rather interesting in regards to the team's collective effort. Since December 28th, this Devils team has been sputtering a little bit. They have been very inconsistent. Their record since December 28th, 6-9-3. They've been struggling, and man, has it been showing. Then in the third and final segment, I will compare the stats and give the Devils a letter grade, even though I really don't want to. Let's start with the biggest storyline heading into this game, which was the return of Szymon Nemec. He was called up from Utica, and the Devils placed Nico Hischier on the IR. In the previous game against the Pittsburgh Penguins, Jonas Siegenthaler in the first period lost an edge. He did not return to the game, and Sheldon Keefe revealed that Siegenthaler is going to miss some time. We don't know the severity of the injury, but my prediction to replace Siegenthaler for the time being was, in fact, Szymon Nemec. And in this game against the Golden Knights, wasn't really a good homecoming for Nemec. He was horrendously bad to the point where he got benched, and he didn't really see much action because he was making mistake after mistake after mistake. Now, I get it. It's been a while since he's played in the NHL, but here's the thing. I know some people who were covering the AHL All-Star game, and they told me that Nemec seemed somewhat dejected to be in the AHL. And I'm just like, there's no room for him at the NHL level. I get the frustration just because he was an everyday NHL player last season, but since the Devils were rather healthy, they signed Brett Pesce and Brendan Dillon. If Nemec was on the NHL roster, he'd just be a healthy scratch. So it was best case scenario for him to be sent down to the AHL so he can grow his game. And a lot of people were saying that they saw the growth and development from Nemec. He was an AHL All-Star, and I was rather excited. But unfortunately, the duo of him and Luke Hughes was anything but spectacular. It was horrendously bad. They were a big reason why the Devils sacrificed the first goal of the game to Waugh. It was not a good showing from Nemec. And people are wondering, why am I being a little more patient to Luke Hughes? Well, Hughes is already established. He's already shown that he has grown his game in more ways than one. For Nemec, like I said, this is all speculation, but people were telling me that he wasn't really too happy to be in the AHL. Okay, if you're going to have that sort of attitude, I really hope your game elevates when you're given a chance at the NHL, because we don't know when Siegenthaler is going to return. And the fact that you had that abysmal outing to the point where Sheldon Keefe had to bench you, not really a good start. For his sake, I really hope he shows something in the next game against Montreal Canadiens, but in this game against Vegas, not really all that good. Now, I used this phrase to describe the Devils: wash, rinse, repeat. What do I mean by that? Well, the Devils in the matchup against the Penguins, they didn't really get off to the best of starts. Offense was tough to come by. They weren't really finishing on their chances. And it got to a point where they sent it into OT, later a shootout. Wasn't their best showing, but they walked away with the 2 points. In the prior game against the Sabres, same thing. Slow start, couldn't generate anything. And similar to this particular game, when they did get something going, it was too little, too late. Also worth mentioning that you wasted a really good outing from Jake Allen. He was, by and large, the MVP in this game for the Devils. He gave them a chance to win it, and they couldn't perform well in front of him. That is a damn shame, because Jake Allen deserved a lot better. And Bryce Salvador talked about it during the broadcast, which is the Devils just couldn't set up shop in their offensive end because Vegas did a great job smothering them in neutral ice. There was just no firepower. The Devils just came out flat-footed, and something's not connecting right now. I'm glad that they still have a playoff position. They're still third in the Metropolitan Division, but don't look now, but the Columbus Blue Jackets are just 6 points behind you. And rumors are saying that the Blue Jackets are going to be buyers at the trade deadline. So you know they're going to make a big move. The Flyers have already made a move. The Hurricanes have made a move. The Rangers have made a move. The teams in front of you and behind you have made moves to improve their rosters. So you really got to put your head on a swivel and realize that you can't continue to play like you're playing. Because if the Devils continue to play like they're playing, that points cushion that they currently have is going to get smaller, 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 and smaller to the point where they'll be outside of a playoff position. All right, we're going to hear from Stefan Noesen and Sheldon Keefe momentarily. But before we continue, let me tell you guys about FanDuel. Super Bowl 59 is here. One game, two teams, endless possibilities, and there's no better way to make every play more exciting than with FanDuel Sportsbook. Whether it's predicting the first touchdown, calling the MVP, or even betting on the coin toss, FanDuel makes it easy to get in on the action with live betting all game long. You can adjust your bets as the game unfolds and feel the thrill from kickoff to the final whistle. The live betting feature lets you stay involved no matter what happens on the field, and the app is super easy to navigate. Plus, knowing that you can place a $5 bet and potentially win $200 in bonus bets for the Super Bowl, that's the icing on the cake. Download the app or head to FanDuel.com to get started. Bet just $5, and if you win, you'll score $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com. Bet with FanDuel, official partner of Super Bowl 59. Okay, Stefan Noesen said something quite compelling at the conclusion of the game. Here's what he had to say.
Steph, what's it going to take, you think, from your experience, for that message to kind of go through? Because over the last couple of weeks, we've been talking about we need to learn from this. We need to, like, where is that line?
Care. Simple.
Do you feel that there's a lack of that? Like, when you say care, like, what are you trying to describe there?
More we care about each other, and more we care about, winning games and taking care of the puck, and, again, you live to fight another day. Sometimes that's a win. The simple message for me is just, we just need to show a little more urgency, a little more care. Don't care whatever I do, care more about the next person. And, it's a trickle-down effect. It starts, Starts with, our big boys. It goes all the way down the line. Doesn't matter who you are. Yeah.
The key word I want to highlight from that media availability from Stefan Noesen is care. Look, I'm not going to speculate on my platform and just assume that there's some sort of rift in the locker room, but it's clear something's not clicking because it seems like Stefan Noesen and a few other players are not on the same page. And I get that frustrations and tensions are a little high because every time the Devils seem to be building towards something positive, they take a few steps backwards. Like the game against the Boston Bruins, in which the Devils scored an onslaught of goals against one of the best goalies in the NHL right now, or in the game against the Flyers, where the physicality went up a notch and the Devils answered the bell against a very physical Flyers unit. That was one of the more entertaining games that I witnessed in person in all my years covering the Devils. Something is just not clicking to the point where they can't string together a few wins consistently. It's been a while since the Devils have won 3 games in a row. And similar to what Stefan Noesen said, when you're going up against playoff teams, yes, you're going to be challenged, but how do you capitalize on the minuscule opportunities that come your way? That's what separates a lot of teams because similar to what I said in the prior episode, offense is sometimes going to be tough to come by. Those lanes are going to be clogged up. But when you're given a few opportunities to score, you got to make the most of it. And unfortunately, the Devils haven't been doing so. And it's showing in a lot of these games. Now, let's hear from Sheldon Keefe. Here's what he had to say post-game.
One thing that Stefan Noesen said is, we need to care more. We need to care more about every play that we make. Do you sense that from this group, that that's something that needs to elevate?
I mean, I don't like to use that word because then it implies that the players don't care.
Right, yeah, fair.
They certainly do care. They have to learn to grow, man. They got to learn to play in these games. It's a real team. It's a Stanley Cup champion team. And you got to adapt your game. You got to find a way. And I thought, I didn't mind our first period. There's not a lot of shots there, but I didn't mind our first period. I thought we did a pretty good job. Really good on the penalty kill. 0-0. It's a bit of a weird goal on the first one. We got an odd man rush. We failed to execute, and I think every player on the ice thought the puck was out of play, except for the guy who ended up scoring. But that can't be enough to just completely derail the game. You got to stay with it. That's what good teams do, and we've got to grow. We've got to adapt. We want to play with these types of teams. You want to play with the best teams. You want to play in the playoffs. Got to figure these things out. So it's nothing to do with caring. It's about growing and adapting. So that's really what it's about for me, especially when you're missing people.
Like I said, I'm not going to speculate and assume that there's some sort of rift or drama in the locker room. I think everyone's a little on edge after a loss. And as you guys know, I always say this when I'm critiquing a coach. I don't know more than Sheldon Keefe. I have the utmost respect for Sheldon Keefe and what he's accomplished in his career. But if I'm being completely honest, I think his reasoning is complete bullcrap for why the Devils lost to the Golden Knights. Yes, he's right. This is a tough team. But no, the Devils shouldn't have to, quote unquote, learn how to play against these types of teams or learn how to win these types of games. A good number of players on the roster have playoff experience. Some of them are champions, like Jake Allen and Andre Palat. Some of them have beaten the Devils in the playoffs. Stefan Noesen, Brett Pesce, they were on the Hurricanes team that beat the Devils in the playoffs a couple years ago. Jack Hughes, I know he's young in terms of an average human. He's in his early 20s. He's younger than me. But this is Jack Hughes' 6th season in the NHL. Jesper Bratt and Nico Hischier, they're creeping in on 10 years of NHL experience. Both of them have 8. Timo Meier, he has experience in the NHL. Dougie Hamilton, he has experience in the NHL. Luke Hughes, this is his second full year in the league, but even he has playoff experience. No, the Devils shouldn't have to learn how to play against good teams or learn how to win these types of games. They should already have that because a lot of them have a decent amount of experience. I hate the narrative that the Devils are young, they'll learn, they'll grow, they'll develop. No, we should be well past that. This shouldn't be a team where one year they miss the playoffs, the next year, oh yeah, they make the playoffs, but their first round exits. Then the very next year, they don't even make the playoffs. We should be well past that stage. The Devils really need to take their team to the next level. People blamed Lindy Ruff. All right, out goes Lindy Ruff. In comes Sheldon Keefe. People blame the goaltending, and rightfully so. Out goes Vitek Vanacek. Out goes Akira Schmid. Insert Jacob Markstrom and Jake Allen. The Devils' star players are supposed to take their games to the next level. All right, Jack Hughes has been relatively healthy. Timo Meyer's been relatively healthy. Jesper Bratt, healthy. Dougie Hamilton, healthy. Nico Hischier, up until recently, healthy. He's still out, but I expect for him to come back after Four Nations. I think this Devils team, they need to get past that excuse saying like they'll learn, they'll grow, they'll develop. No, you need to capitalize right now. You need to strike while the iron is hot. You don't want there to be a situation where your window is getting smaller, smaller, and smaller, and you didn't capitalize on it. For anyone on social media saying that the Devils need to blow it up, I completely disagree with you. But I will say this. The Devils need to take their game to the next level, and so far they haven't done so. I get it. Jack Hughes is young. Nico Hischier is young. Jesper Bratt is young when it comes to the average human, but when we're just focusing on their hockey careers, they have a decent amount of NHL experience under their belts. So yeah, that's where I stand with the whole they just need to learn and they'll develop over time and they'll learn how to beat these teams in this sort of circumstance. No, if you want to be a playoff team, you need to figure out a way to win. In order to be a legitimate playoff team, you need to play 4 great rounds of hockey. Not 1 great round, not 2 great rounds, 4 great rounds. And you need to beat a team 4 times out of 7 in each of those rounds if you want to hoist up the Stanley Cup. That's just the reality of it. So I expect better from this Devils team. I'm sure Stefan Noesen expects better from his team. Everyone expects better from the Devils right now. The fact that they have a record of 6-9-3 since December 28th just does not make sense to me. I don't know what happened during the Christmas break, but I really hope the Four Nations break gives them a chance to cleanse everything and just try this again and finish the season strong. I talked about it a few episodes ago. What's really going to help me decide whether or not this team is legitimate or how far this team can go come playoff time is what they do to close out the season. So those are my overall thoughts when reflecting on Stefan Noesen and Sheldon Keefe's post-game soundbites. All right. We're going to compare the stats, give the Devils a letter grade momentarily. But before we continue, let me tell you guys about Game Time. Looking for tickets for your next big event, whether it's a concert, a comedy show, or a sports game, finding the right ticket at the right price can be a headache. But with Game Time Picks, it's never been easier. Let me tell you how it works. With Game Time Picks, the app does all the hard work for you. It curates the best deals, so you don't have to waste time searching through endless ticket listings. The curated deals make it super simple to find great tickets at a great price. No more shifting through thousands of options. I recently grabbed a super deal for a prime seat and couldn't believe the value. It was a steal. The seat view feature is a game changer. Before I hit buy, I can see exactly what my seat will look like in the venue. It's so reassuring. And the best part, you're covered with Game Time's lowest price guaranteed. If you find a better deal somewhere else, they'll refund 110% of the difference. Plus, your tickets are guaranteed to be delivered on time with easy cancellation options if something comes up. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Okay, before we compare the stats, I know a lot of people want Tom Fitzgerald to make a big move of some sorts to really take the team to the next level. I'm no fairy godmother. I can't wave a magical wand and say, poof, the Devils are fixed now. But I'm just going to say this. I recently spoke to Tom Fitzgerald when I was at a Devils game in the press box, and we just had a casual conversation. I said, are the phone lines keeping you busy? He just responded and said that the phone lines are dry for right now. So take that however you want to take it. I do think Fitzy will get something done, but for the time being, I wouldn't expect a move from the Devils until after the Four Nations break, but we'll see what happens. You could take what I said with a grain of salt, but just wanted to share that small piece of information with you guys. All right. Power plays. Golden Knights were 0 for 5. Devils were 1 for 1 thanks to Andre Palat. A little later in the third period, Andre Palat had another goal. Unfortunately, it was waved off due to a high stick. So, yeah, that kind of took the wind out of the Devils' sails. Shots on goal differential, 40-15 in favor of Vegas. Just incredible. Hits, 22-10 in favor of the Devils. Giveaway, 16-4 in favor of Vegas. Takeaways, 5-0 in favor of Vegas. Block shots, 13-7 in favor of the Devils. Like I said in the first segment, this had nothing to do with block shots. Vegas just did a phenomenal job of slowing down the Devils in neutral ice. Devils just had trouble setting up their offensive attack. And similar to what Stefan Noesen said in the second segment, yes, the opportunities weren't really as vast as they normally would be for the Devils, but you need to find a way to capitalize on the minuscule opportunities that come your way. Time spent in the penalty box, 10-2 in favor of the Devils. All right. If I had to give the Devils a letter grade, I'm sorry. I'm going to have to give them an F because they showed no signs of improvement in this game. For every step forward they've taken so far, they've taken 2 steps backwards. They're just limping to the finish line at this point. I know they're missing some key assets, but it's no excuse to how they've been playing the last few games. Just pathetic. And they need to find ways to win more consistently because that playoff position that they currently hold, they're third in the Metro. It's going to get smaller, smaller, and smaller, smaller, and smaller. You can't continue to play with your food. But that's just my opinion on the matter. Let me know your thoughts. What did you think of this overall outing against the Golden Knights? What did you think of Shimon Nemitz? And do you think there is still a spot available for him on the Devils roster in the future? Obviously, he's here for a time being, but I'm just talking about later down the road. And do you have any hope for the Devils heading into the Four Nations break? I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Leave a comment down below if you're watching on YouTube. If you're listening on podcast streaming service, hit me up on my personal X Page app at TreyMatt4 or the show's X Page app at Locked On Devils. As for today's episode, that's all the time I have for you. Continue to stay safe. Have a wonderful day in New Jersey. Go Devils. I'll catch you guys next episode. Thanks for listening once again.